Hi everyone, welcome to Module 5. We are moving along at a good pace here, and this is a really critical module. It's on teaching information literacy, sometimes referred to as media literacy. And if you have been following the election and the national news, where you've been hearing about fake news, well, this is kind of similar to that. It's teaching students to be able to use good critical thinking skills in being able to navigate the web and gather information. Though we won't be going specifically into fake news, I think most of the things that you'll be seeing in this module will be very applicable to that as well. So maybe you can relate it to that. So what we're going to be focusing on is a big standard. It's definitely one of the NETS standards that is a big part of our class. It also really kind of gets into an aspect of digital citizenship, which is also an aspect of this class, but something that you, I'm sure, can relate to as you do observations in schools. What we're going to do is look this week at evaluating websites, creating rubrics, and then putting that together in a big point assignment that is called a website evaluation rubric critique. You'll also have an optional digital blog post, which would be number D. It is now going to be on chapter 5. So you'll find that we're going to be skipping around in the book for the chapters. Be sure that you've checked to see which chapter that we're on. So let's go into our module pages. And in doing that, we'll be able to look at the information individually. So we have Module 5 overview, and in the overview, you'll see that there is the learning goal, and then a brief paragraph or two about what we're going to be considering in this module. Going to next, you'll see a website here on evaluating websites. And there is some written information here, but also a video. And in this video, you'll be able to get some information about evaluating websites with 5 specific criteria. So what you're going to be doing is looking for those 5 specific criteria plus 2 additional ones when you think about evaluating websites. Make sure that you watch the video. I think there might have a little bit of audio quality with that, but if you have any questions or need some help with that, please let me know. There's some other resources right here as well that I encourage you to review. Next, you'll see some information about creating rubrics. Now, the video that I have here is a video that tells you how to create a rubric from scratch, which is what you need to do for this assignment. And I've given you an example of how to create a rubric based on something that most of you, if not all of you, are familiar with, and that is pizza. And everybody has a favorite pizza, and how they rate that pizza is going to be easily seen, I hope, in how you can also create an effective rubric, which would then transfer to how to create a great website and or how to evaluate one that you run across. So make sure that you read through that or watch that. I'm sorry, that's a video. And then you'll be sent to the next page, which is a Rubistar, which is a rubric generator. Now, you're not going to be able to use this specifically for this assignment, but I wanted you to have this as a resource for your future. And then the multimedia, which again is always optional to look at. And then here are your things to do. So you need to read chapter 5, which is the chapter for this week's module. Read all the information in the module 5 module pages, and then submit your optional digital blog, number D, if you choose to do that, and then submit the website evaluation critique rubric. And let's go to looking at those assignments The digital blog post is what we've been doing for the last couple of blog posts. Again, this one is optional. Do remember that in order to get the full number of points, you need to make sure that you're doing reflective writing on 3 different criteria that, or excuse me, concepts that you choose. And you need to be adding in a digital tool, which is a Web 2.0 tool, one of which might be listed here. If you choose to do something different than this, just make sure that you check with me beforehand and see that it is an applicable one, an appropriate one for this assignment. Always remember to add your resources at the end in APA format, citation style, always including the book, but also including any other websites that you've used and any Web 2.0 tool that you have created. You would also want to be sure that you put that in there, giving credit to yourself. In terms of how to get that Web 2.0 tool into your blog, first choice is to embed it. And so if they give you an embed code or if it's available, you need to make sure that you embed it. And again, there's a link here on how to do that. And then here's the big assignment. This will be due next Sunday, and it is creating a rubric for the purpose of evaluating either an educational or children's academic website. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to first have to understand how to evaluate a website. And there's 5 evaluative criteria, which are discussed in the video that I provided on the module page. In doing so, you'll be creating a rubric based on at least those 5 criteria, as well as 2 additional ones, if you would like to get the maximum points. And you're going to do that either in, well, I would suggest that you do it in a word processing software, so Word, using Word, or if you don't have access to Word, you can do it in a Google Doc and then upload it as a Word document or as a PDF. But you're going to do a table within Word in order to get that rubric. You can use Rubistar as a reference, but remember, you don't want to create it through there. And then you're going to, once you've created that rubric, now remember, when you're creating this rubric, it is for any educational or children's academic website. How would you evaluate any of them? You're going to have certain criteria that you need to look at, but then you might have some others that you would want to include as well. Once you have created the rubric, then you select an educational or children's academic website, and you would then evaluate that website with the rubric that you've created. And you would show me in your assignment how you evaluated that. And then finally, you're going to provide a written critique as well of the website. Now, that should not be a repetition of what's already on the rubric. You need to extend and provide detail. If you look at the criteria for how you're going to be graded on this assignment, you see that in order to get all maximum points for the first criteria, which is the rubric content criteria, you need to use all 5 of the website evaluative criteria plus 2 additional ones. Doing any less, you can see, if you look at the rubric, how that's going to work. Then you also need to provide detailed and measurable description of the quality of each level of the criteria. So you have to write the description. You also need to provide points for each of the levels, and you need to translate those points into a letter grade at the end. You need to have an appropriate and relevant website. You need to make sure that your rubric has no spelling or grammar errors. And then you need to have a critique. And the critique needs to be a well-organized, with clear intro, body, and conclusion paper that talks about how the website could integrate technology into the classroom. How would it enhance the learning of students? Again, this is how you would get the maximum number of points. It should be an APA style, with the page requirement of at least 1 page. And then the rubric would be in addition to that. So you have the expectations right here in this particular rubric. Make sure that when you develop your own rubric, that you look to make sure that you have met the criteria that you would want for a grade. Okay, so that's what you've got going for this week. Hope it ends up being a good one for you. Let me know if you have any questions.